First question is from RJ Westerman. How many times a week do you need to exercise each body part? Is once a week okay, or do you need to hit each body part twice or more a week to really see results?
All right.
32 times.
Yeah, that's the studies they show that 32 times a week.
Exactly.
That would suck. You know what's fun? So I'm going to go over what the studies say, and then let's go over our personal experience. Because sometimes, actually I should say oftentimes, the studies don't quite line up with real life because there's limitations in the studies. In the studies, they typically last 12 weeks or something like that. They're training people for that certain period of time. There's a little bit of self-selection bias for who signs up for the studies. And then you have, us who've trained regular people for years and years and years. And
We've
so we
seen
get to
all
see,
the patterns.
Yeah, and you get to see it over long periods of time. So the studies say this. The studies say 1 to 3 days a week, as long as the volume is the same, then you're probably going to see similar results. In other words, if you did 15 sets for biceps 1 day a week, or you spread 15 sets out over 3 workouts, doesn't make a big difference. Okay, I'm going to disagree with that because in my experience working with people, I would say probably 80%, if not more, of the people I work with do best by hitting their body parts between 2 to 4 days a week, right in that range. Most people around 3. People with who are a little older or less recovery ability 2, and people who are more advanced about 4. Total volume per week per body part anywhere between I'd say 9 to maybe 21 sets per body part for the whole week. For me, I respond best when I can hit my body parts 3 to 4 days a week. Even if I did the same volume and I hammered my body parts once a week, it doesn't work the same for me. It just doesn't. It's superior to hit it at least 2 days a week.
I'm the same, and it's mainly for me, it helps me not overreach. I used to train specific body parts once or even twice a week, and I would always go too far. It was just inevitable. I would stack all these exercises together and really try and get the most and squeeze the most out of the muscle potential for that day, and I would inevitably the next day would be insanely sore, which would then impede on my next workout going, from then on out. So that was always just something I started to notice. I just thought it was eventually, you didn't get as sore. And so you would keep hammering, and upping the intensity a bit with the workouts, with that split type of routine. But I definitely am a big proponent for, the total body workouts and then having that split throughout the week and spread out.
I find two to 3 for me. I feel pretty effective with 2. I think 3 is ideal, and I guess it depends on which body part we're talking about that I find I get better. My legs do better with 3 times a week, but I could do my arms twice a week and feel like I get plenty. So I think there's going to be that little individual variance per person.
Now, do you find the same thing I found with clients, that most of them are 2 to 3, 4 days a week?
Yeah, and a lot of that is what Justin was alluding to. And then the other thing is too that when you do it more often and less volume per workout, right? So less sets, right? Less sets, less reps in a workout, and you spread it out over the week, you tend to do the better stuff, right? So when you do a one day and you say, let's say I'm going to train legs all in one day, maybe you squat and you leg press, or you squat and hack squat, and then leg extensions and maybe some body weight stuff, or you end up doing a lot of these other movements.
You're too fatigued.
Yeah, and you're just not getting as a big bang for your buck. I mean, if you squat and you're squatting 5x5 type sets, and then you move over to leg press and maybe you get after a leg press, after that, everything else that you do afterwards,
good luck.
You're just not. You're probably running at 60% of what you could probably do if you were fresh going into those movements. Yeah. So that's what I find the most valuable is you end up being able to give more towards better movements when you spread it out over 2 to 3 times versus all in one workout.
Here's my whole theory on why you still have people in the training world that say hit your body parts hard once a week and then it doesn't make a big difference even if the volume is, so long as the volume is controlled. Here's the problem with that. When you have the muscle building, bodybuilding trainer type people, they place all the emphasis on muscle damage and stimulating muscle growth. When you have your athletic trainers, they place all their emphasis on skill and technique. You would never see a basketball coach tell their players, hey, instead of doing 1 hour 3 days a week, why don't we just do 3 hours on Monday? You would never see that because athletic trainers understand that technique and skill is better practiced frequently. People who are in that muscle building space forget that. All they look at is the muscle. Oh, damage the muscle, it's all the same. It's not. You forget that skill is extremely important when it comes to building muscle also, because you get to practice the skill of squatting, deadlifting, pressing more frequently. When you do it once a week, it's not nearly as effective.
Well, that's why
when
I
you're
think
fresh and sharp.
That's why I
Yes.
think I for me, like legs really makes a big difference.
Yes.
Because when you do squatting, of all the movements that I do, for like arms, there's not a lot of skilled movements,
Sure.
right? So me getting to do squats, if I spread it out over 3 times in a week, I might get 15 sets of squats in a week.
Yep.
I will never do 15 sets of
In one
squats in one workout. That's
Well, and
that's insane.
There's just so many compensations that happen when you're like in that mentality of having to hammer that body part and just keep squeezing the most, that you possibly do. And to speak to like the skill and the technique, like you lose that very quickly once you're not rested and you're not fully in good composure, and so you're going to end up developing bad patterns going forward when you're going to repeat this exercise. And so maybe that is more from an athletic perspective, but even if for your common person that goes into the gym, like just performing that same lift, like it's going to downgrade your quality.
The average person would do so much better if they stopped looking at their workouts as ways to hammer body parts and they started looking them as ways to practice movements.
Perfect their
They'll
movements.
get better results. In the short term, they'll get great results. In the long term, they'll get superior results. It's like, it reminded me when I would see people running, and I had this epiphany. I'd see people running terribly, and I'd think, why do people run so bad and go push themselves? Like, oh yeah, because all they're emphasizing is the exhaustion aspect. They're thinking, I got to go out and get tired. Nobody's thinking, I'm going to go practice the skill of running. If they practice the skill of running, they would do far better long term. It's the same thing with resistance training. You're far better off splitting up your volume, going to the gym, and practicing the skill of these lifts. You're going to get better gains, especially long term when you do that. So for most people, hit your body parts about 2 to 3 days a week, divide up the volume. And again, after training people for years and years and years, it's superior for most people. The people that can be okay with the once a week hammering tend to be very advanced, have already gone through years of practicing skills of
Advanced
exercise.
and enhanced.
And oftentimes enhanced with anabolic steroids.